A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Birkby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. On a weekend when the WWE Royal Rumble returned, there are about 29 members of Huddersfield Town staff that have been metaphorically thrown over the top rope by Town's social media following in the aftermath of the game at Northampton yesterday. I'm your host and podcast tribal chief, Matt Shaw, and they love him in Linthwaite and Birkby and Crosland Moor, in Dalton, Milnsbridge, Newsome and Skelmanthorpe. Yes, wave your hands from side to side if you believe in Richard Kosmala. And finally, a man who never backs down, never quits, regrets nothing and fears less, lives fast, fights hard, no regrets. His time is now. It's Ian Killer Kowalski. How are we doing, boys?
There's a question.
Yeah.
No,
do we have to do this? We have to do this, eh? Do we have to do this?
It's not been a good week, has it, guys?
No. Right. Boys, they always say when you're angry, you should count to three. I just wasn't expecting Northampton to score another two whilst they were in the middle of doing that. It's just an absolutely terrible day. It compounds a woeful 8 days supporting Huddersfield Town. Let's jump into it, shall we? So, Town's lineup: Chapman, Pearson, Balker, Spencer, Sorensen, Hogg, Hodge, Ruskin, Wiles, Charles, Boyan, Radulovic. I think what struck me immediately killer is that Town have had to go back to Boyan because of exactly what we said in the drive-in. I mean, not many people listen to us, but, maybe some people are. Because he's the only striker bar Danny Ward who can play with his back to goal. So we've had to go back to him, which is a shame. Not for Boyan, obviously, but Charles started up front with him. But it's at the back where the first questions really come up, Killer. That Northampton are playing a similar shape. It's more of a 3-4-3 than a 3-5-2. And Tom Eaves is your central guy. We've come up against Tom Eaves for years. We know he's manageable. Not to be disrespectful to him, but he is manageable. However, he's manageable to a Tom Lees or a Matty Pearson. And instead, we've picked Radinho Balker in the middle of a back three, who is the weakest defender aerially. It's not for debate. He's not good in the air. Wonderful on the ground with the football, but in the air, he's not good. Probably the least physical, and he's been absolutely steamrolled by him. Tactically, this was such a mess because not only does he have to deal with a striker that's made for Matty Pearson, but we're then giving Matty Pearson the ball in wide areas to progress it when Balker's stood in the middle and unable to run it out due to these positions. It's just baffling to me. It really was. And we'll talk about the goals, mate. But when it lined up that way, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It's laughable. We're going to, I guess, talk about the fans' reaction to what's going on Saturday with this game. But I can't excuse what's happened with that tactical decision, Matt. I can't. Mm-hmm. I think as a manager of a League One club, to put Balker in the middle against Eaves, we saw in Balker's debut against QPR, I think, when he came on. I don't know if it was his debut early on, wasn't it? He got manhandled at the back post for a goal, and that's been a problem. In the limited times we've got to see him, it's not the first time and the only time it's happened. We know he's not great in the air against guys that are really, really physical. He's just not. So to play him against Tommy is criminal for me, Matt. And straight away, seeing that lineup, you knew. Well, first off, we thought no, it'd be Pearson playing centre. To be fair, and then when we've kicked off, when we can see straight away that's not the case, I'm lost for words with it, Matt. And it's rare that I'm lost for words. Like with Bojan, I'm very outspoken on my belief that he's not good enough, but he offers something different. I thought it was surprising Marshall didn't get the start next to him because I thought Charles has offered a lot less than what Marshall has. So that was another issue I had there. But to get that wrong with Pearson starting again on the wide right of the back three, when time and time again against Birmingham and every other opportunity he's had in the last few games, when he's had to drive the ball out, it's just stifled any sort of playing football from the back. It just doesn't work. And not only have we stuck with that, we've weakened ourselves at centre-back with Lees obviously missing out because of his facial injury after Lyndon Dykes nearly murdered him on Tuesday night. We've put Borka there, and he's just not the guy for it. It's one thing having somebody sub as well, Matt, but we didn't even change it in game when it wasn't working. I really struggle. I really, really struggled with that. And from the off, you knew we were in for a tough day just from seeing that from kickoff.
I mean, the 2 goals bear the fruits of it, because the first goal, it comes from a long throw-in. Balka's marking Eves on a set piece, and I don't want this to be a Radinho Balka bashing session, because he's a good footballer, a very, very good footballer if used correctly. So I'm not putting much blame on him here, but his mark doesn't jump for the header. He doesn't jump to win the ball. He just kind of tries to lean into him slightly, and he backs off, hoping Hogg's going to win the first ball in front of him, and he makes it so easy, and he lets him win it. And Hoskins hits it, and it's a good hit. I look at that and I'm pretty certain Lee Nichols saves that. I'm pretty certain Nichols tips it around the post. But it's so poorly defended before it gets to that. And why not look at the second goal? It's a nothing long ball forward, and Balka's there too. Because he's yards ahead of Eves, and he tries to be too clever. Instead of just winning the ball and dealing with it, he tries to slow down and hook it and be clever. And he doesn't sense the danger of Eves, and he gets flattened. And he deserved to get flattened. And again, I think Chapman's beaten too easily on that. It's such a shoddy goal to give away. Both of them are just, mate, I'm going to start swearing, so I'm going to hand it over to you. But they're just so bad in terms of defensive. And I would just at a complete loss. Whoever put that game plan together just needs the head drop, putting in ice cold water, because they've had a stinker there.
Yeah, I mean, Eves has been. I remember coming from Hull, and we did a good job on him. Once when we, I think it might have been under Fotheringham, to be honest with you, when we ended up winning, when Fotheringham doing his amazing celebration after. But yeah, honestly, I was just sat there open mouth, just like watching the footage, because yeah, I agree. I thought Chapman, he was just unbelievable. He would almost like time stood still, wasn't it? Just like, wow, I was just thinking, Balka's like, he's gone, he's got him here, he's gone. And you're looking around, I'm thinking, is it, you make that split second, is it a foul, is it not? I thought, no, it's not foul, that mate, play on. And then you'd hoping Chapman's going to do something, and it's in. And all of a sudden, I won't say we were like looking brilliant, but I thought if we could cross a ball in past either a keeper or a first man, we'd have probably been a few up. But as fullbacks, we just couldn't get anything going. And so I'm thinking, okay, usual first half nonsense. Let's just get in there and 0-0, and let's hope we can turn it around second half like we've seemed to be doing every other week. But that second goal was just an absolute punch in the stomach, wasn't it? And that as well. And yeah, it was just.
It could have been 3-0, mate. Just before half time, Fosu misses a sitter, really. And again, it's so poorly defended, isn't it? It's just the defending was just horrific, mate.
Also, we're having fun like you were in that first game and that as well. It was just horrific, Matt. And yeah, obviously you kind of went home on Tuesday night, Birmingham, thinking, okay, a bit of quality, and maybe there weren't that much in it. Maybe Duff were right, but this, it was just like, it was awful. And yeah, I think that must be one of the hardest team talks, Matt. I mean, I know he said that he ripped into him and stuff, but it's I think Duff were absolutely raging, wasn't he? And
he was raging. I was bloody raging watching.
Their own form and everything's been appalling,
Absolutely.
Hasn't it? So, yeah, it's not like we're playing a good side there, but
no, the 20th in the league, and they've done the double over us. That's the thing. Northampton have done the double overs and scored 6 goals against us.
That guy on your driving show last Northampton, he was so downbeat about it, and he was saying, we might get a draw, and we're going to have to make it really ugly and that as well. But it was just unbelievable, really. The only ugly part of the performance really was from us. So all I could think about was what he was saying, because I'm thinking he's going to be sat there having his pie all the time, thinking, Jesus Christ, But I was just wondering, Matt, whether there's a few people, like Duff said afterward, believing in his own hype. I just wonder if there's a few kind of opposition fans looking and where we are in the league, just thinking, Lucille Town are going places and this, that, and the other, because we've said it for all the season. We've hardly been blown away with what we've done, and we're not to be feared. You don't fear playing us, do you? And they just like give it a good go. They got battled. You knew Kevin Nolan, mate. You know how he is. He did energy, aggression. Their teams are going to be pumped. You just think hoping we're going to have that quality, but there was just absolutely nothing. And honestly, mate, I nearly smashed up my MacBook like on Saturday because like the crossing from Ruskin and Sonerson. I mean, I know, Kilo, you said last night on our internal communication, you don't think he's right, do you? But I refuse to believe there can be passes. I was just they were getting some really good positions, but every time we were just finding a keeper or the first man, it was just getting so boring, wasn't it? It was just like rinse and repeat every minute.
There's no runs though either. I mean, they put the ball into areas, but there's no runs from the strikers or midfielders either. They just stood there, and it was just a complete shambles of a lazy performance by so many of them who just couldn't be bothered. I hate it when people sort of say, "Oh, they couldn't be bothered," or "They don't want to play," but they just got, like Michael Duff said afterwards, they got beat up. They did. They just got battered, and they didn't want to know. As soon as it got physical, they didn't want to. Some of them just didn't want to know, or some of them weren't able to handle it. In a kind of way to put that. But that first half, I think, is the worst we've played this season, and we've had some stinkers this season. I think that's probably the worst. Towns XG was a pathetic 0.04 in that first half, which we've offered nothing against a team that are, on not in the bottom four, but they're just teetering above it because Burton keep winning and they're scared of dropping into it. And I say that first half we won 3 tackles to their 7. We'd lost the majority of duels with it been 33 to 26. We lost 55% of the aerial duel, and people can harp on about different reasons, but this team just didn't turn up. Like I say, it should have been 3-0 at halftime. It's unacceptable for people who like Mike. I'm not going off on one. This is what Michael Duff said in after the game. I'm pretty much just parroting what he said. The first half's unacceptable. You got a fill away. I can't even speak. I can't speak. I'm so angry, killer. But they've got a full away end of people who've travelled down to watch it, and they've not turned up. It's just you've got to do, especially when people are sort of saying, "Oh, we're going for automatic promotion. Playoffs aren't good enough, etc." You can't play like you can't say that and then back it up with not. You can't. You just sort of. You're trying to bring the supporters along on this ride, and Kevin Nagel's put his hand in his pocket. He's doing all he can. He's trying to whip everything up. His partner in crime, Dave's doing the same, trying to get people whipped up and excited. Michael Duff's trying to build it a little bit, and then the players let everybody down. Some of the players. I'm not saying it's every player, not every player, but there's a handful of players who let everyone down, and it just feels like every time you think we've turned a corner mentally, they just retreat and regress back. And it's honestly, I said it at the time, Killer, in the summer, if possible, they should have completely blotted this squad and changed it, because I'm not saying think of failure is too strong, I think, but there are people in there who are just absolutely browbeaten from 3 or 4 years of or the last 2-3 years of being rubbish, being beaten. And I think as soon as things go tough away from home at places like Northampton, which is a difficult place to go to if they're strong, people wilt, and people that have been here for a while wilt, and it rubs off. And these are senior players as well, and it rubs off on your younger players. Like Joe Hodge didn't have a good game, but he's a 19, 20-year-old 5'3" midfielder playing next to a 36-year-old senior pro, and then. It just wasn't good enough. It's just so disappointing, and we just want the best, don't we, for our football team? We want us to play well, want us to go up, and we'll sing their praises, we'll love them to bits. But that's just, you can't back up the talk with performances like that. It just was not good enough. And second half, Cozzy, Ruskin and Hodge got hooked, and you know what? Those two probably weren't the worst on the pitch. It's a tactical switch, so they didn't play well. Ruskin, I'm not sure if he's become injury victim number 27. He went down with a knee injury, and it would be typical if he was injured. Town switched system a little bit. It was, again, Duff and these hybrids. It's like 4-4-2/4-3-3. I think we're going to talk tactically in a little bit, but I think maybe he's the evolution of his. We'll talk about it in a bit. But Marshall's kind of played on the right, and we've seen him do that a little bit. But it got worse before it got better again, and they popped in a third, and it's a good goal from their point of view, I think. And this, we're not here to sort of praise Northampton. This is a Huddersfield Town podcast. If any Northampton fans are winning and want to hear how wonderful they were, check out All Cobblers to me, because we're just going to talk about how bad Huddersfield Town were. But to be fair to them, it's a good goal for their point of view, but it's poor from us, and it's Matty Pearson who gets caught really flat-footed, and it's flat-footed. You expect him to do better than that. He's done better in the past. I don't know if he's got any fitness issues or anything at the minute, but he gets sort of turned, and Liam Shaw kills it in 3-0. Piss taken, piss boiled, pissed off. Killer.
Oh, Matt, honestly, the players didn't turn up. You are correct. But we've already pointed out that the lineup was wrong from the start. And I don't think I can even start talking about this without saying that I do believe it's a managerial issue when it comes to how poor we were in the first half and the beginning of the second. I'll quickly go back to the first two goals, because the first goal, Matt, I am actually pretty jealous of Northampton having Kevin Nolan, who's approached that game with a game plan to beat Huddersfield Town. He went long throws. Who beat us with long throws this season? Tamworth. Then he went long balls because he knows we're not great from the long balls. We're bulker there. They worked out that if we put it high in early doors, we're going to start asking questions and see if they're physically up for it. We weren't. And then the third goal came from us attacking, losing possession, and then them counter-attacking and us not getting back in time. These are not things that are one-offs for Town. These are problems we've had in games up until now. And Northampton changed their approach. Tariq Fossuma hasn't played recently, but the last time he played against us, he ripped us apart. He's come in from the cold a little bit to play against us this weekend because Nolan saw what he did last time and thought it could cause problems. And like you say, it should have been 4-0, never mind 3, because he should have scored before half-time. And it was only through the grace of God that he didn't. So we were very, very lucky to be even, I won't say in the game there, but as 3 instead of 4. But that third goal, like you say, Matt, and my problem with it is 2 things. First off, the amount of opportunities we had to foul him. There was a few passes there where we had a couple of chances where we knew we were in trouble because we turned over possession. We didn't have guys in the right place to defend it. Someone has to take a foul. That's what a professional team does. But we don't seem to do that. And this is, again, Matt, this isn't the first time we spoke about it here this season. There's been opportunities.
Again, mentality issue again. Is that?
And but that's Michael Duff's job's to fix. I do think it's his. You can question that the players are not performing.
He's fixed a lot of it, hasn't he? But it's just not 100% done, is it?
In these moments, and Matt, going into this game, I had it down as the first real must-win of the season where there's a little bit of pressure. We've lost 2 in a row at home. We're going away against somebody low down on the form table. And we're expected to kind of win. We need to start getting away from these people on the outside of the playoffs again, these teams that are kind of knocking on the door. So there's a little bit of expectation, Matt. And yet again, this Town team, like you say, from last year, something goes against us. The first goal goes in and they fall apart, Matt. They just fall apart. The problem I have and the kind of hangover I'm having is this happened at the same time last season. And I know we got relegated and that's not happening this season. Of course it's not. That's ridiculous. But once you're halfway through a season and you're kind of sick of playing the same way, as players this is, they know they're going to get the same kind of team talk. They understand what's coming. They expect it. This is when the drop-offs happen and you've got to find a new way to deal with problems. And I just don't see it, Matt. I don't see new ways that we're trying to deal with issues that we've been speaking about for weeks. Not taking a foul on that third goal, to me, is unacceptable again. And we've got to be better than that. Maybe Duff is trying to do it, but the players aren't. And maybe it's going to take until the summer to get there so we can have that big change of the senior players that are out of contract this year. But, Matt, all 3 goals. The first one, Ruskins isn't doing his job on the long throw. The Hoskins is a striker. It's a set play from Northampton and no one picks him up. It's a great finish. Nichols might have saved it, but there's an error there. For the second one, all on Bolker. For the third one, about 4 different players didn't do what they should have done. Every single goal is stoppable for me. But because of the mentality of the team at the moment, it's just not happening. And it's really, really tiring even to support Town, isn't it? And I think the fans are feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. And it's just, as soon as this pressure's amped up, Matt, that's what I feel like it is this week. We needed to go. We needed to win. The players felt that little bit of pressure. And that's why we got, like you say, Matt, the worst 45 minutes we've had in that third goal. It's so stoppable. Come on, boys. You have to stop that. Because if you can't stop things like that, you can't build on anything else. They're foundation building blocks. Knowing game situations when you have to take a foul. And we didn't, Matt. But the other thing that annoys me, I know it's a bit of a rant, this one. Why can Northampton counter-attack like that, but we never do? We never have those moments where we retain possession, we press high, get the ball back and go at it. We just don't have those moments. We've not had those moments for, maybe we did against Peterborough and against Bolton early on in the season, but for the last few games, that's why the XG is low. That's why Wiles isn't creating these amazing chances that should go, what they call, I can't remember what they call, expectant XG when it comes to good chances created. It's not happening anymore because we just don't seem to be getting these presses, these counter-attacks, these winning the ball back in attacking positions anymore. And I don't know why. I can't work out why.
It's too slow in possession, and I don't know if losing Kasumu's made a difference because, I mean, he doesn't play the ball quickly, but he wins the ball quickly and gives it to Herbie Kane. I think part of it is Herbie Kane's form's dropped off, and Herbie Kane is the one who gets the ball forward quicker. And I think part of that was Duff tinkering again with that midfield shape, and he's moved Herbie Kane higher, hasn't he, in the last couple of occasions, and it's not suited him. He needs to be deeper to start those counters and to start things because he's a smart player. Cozzy, the absolute tease, the tease of Huddersfield Town, that goal that we scored, Herbie Kane's goal. Watch this back, mate. It's a bloody great goal, isn't it? It's a superb goal, but it's the thing is, it's a wonderful the move and everything, the pattern. Callum Marshall started the last two games and he's been poor. But when he's come on recently, he's been phenomenally good. He's been really good when he's come on. And he's coming from the right-hand side. And that pass that he puts in is an absolutely wonderful pass. The goal, I know we sat here, if any Northampton fans are going, I know Huddersfield fans, they say all our goals are crap and all their goals are great. Sorry about that. But this is genuinely a really good goal. I mean, I've not looked at it from their point of view. Okay. But there's a nice triangle. I mean, Matty Pearson and Hogg are actually involved in the build-up here, Killer, as well, who you don't usually put in. But that goal is really good. And Cozzy, at that point, it's 3-1 with 20 minutes left, and you think, for automatic promotion, pull this back.
I didn't think much, to be honest, Matt. I thought consolation, but it's frustrating, mate. We've got players who like come off the bench and do a job and look good, but like you said, you could probably start Marshall and Kane, and they'd have been average from the start. That's just where we're at. We're so frustrated. But I thought it would be brilliant with Marshall when he came on and give us a bit of life, give us a bit of energy. Because the one thing I didn't see in the first half, and you didn't see it again on Tuesday night, was like there's no one that can beat a man. I mean, we'll probably come on later on, but there's no one that can beat a man or like take someone on and stuff like that. So it's so frustrating, and like you were having to like kind of fudge getting past people and stuff like, and it is just so poor. But yeah, obviously the goal went in, and you're thinking can't come back. He took it really well, and but then it was just surreal, wasn't it? Because Northampton seemed to panic then, didn't they? And all of a sudden, we're back in it again, and with a unlikely source, I've probably jumped ahead in your agenda, but I think Jonathan Hogg's been our best player in the last two games, Matt, which maybe explains why we lost them. But
I thought it was good in the first half against Birmingham. I didn't think he was good yesterday at all.
No, I agree with what Killer said, Matt driving. I thought he stopped us getting absolutely battered on Tuesday night. But,
yeah, I thought it was good first half against Birmingham, and he looked to win, but I thought he tired quite badly against Birmingham, which is expected because he's 36 and he's not played a lot recently. But
it's just taking Nick in it though, that goal he scores, because like when is he?
On his left foot, mate. On his left foot. I mean, the technique. I mean, the way he hits, it's quite awkward. But the connection he gets, unbelievable. Do you know what's really funny though is Anthony Evans' header. I'm not entirely convinced he meant that header back to him, because he kind of like closes his eyes and it hits him in the back of the head, kind of thing. I mean, if he means it, it's genius. But Hoggy's it's just a brilliant goal. It's bang bottom corner, and you just think that's an outstanding goal. That, I mean, it doesn't pass the eye test much in some ways because he's a bit awkward. But he's got his foot on it, and it's the 3-2, 10 minutes plus stoppage time left.
And
Bojan has a chance. I mean, it's a good save that when it does really well. He cuts in. He should go the other side, but I think it's because the defender's coming across. He panics a little bit, and he is panicky. But to be honest, I thought Bojan was better than Charles, a lot better than Charles. Charles did nothing for me again. And
that's shot.
He's taking a little time to. Yeah. He's not played a lot at Bolton. He's going to take a little time to adjust and get in and get fit, match fit, etc. But he had that shot, didn't he, in the second half? Which wasn't great.
Scott Bradley's trolley while it was going that high, wasn't it? It was shocking.
Yeah, but I thought Bojan, he does little bits quite well where he just drops into little pockets in space and he links and lays off. But when he gets in the box this season, he's just been
no presence, is there?
No, he's just a bit wishy-washy. Well, very wishy-washy, and he should do better with that. It is genuinely a good save, but he should, and it's literally within an inch of the post. If it beats the keeper, it's an inch of, so. But he should really go the other way. And I think a striker who's confident and firing goes the other way. And I've seen him in his highlights. When I saw him play for Helsinki against Aberdeen in the Europa League before we got him, and he scored a great goal in that, and he was confident and he just strokes it in. Technically, he's quite good. He's just slow, isn't he? That's the only thing. Like when you talk about counters and stuff, he's not exactly rapid, but it was just. And the scramble in the box, and you just think
the scramble.
There wasn't enough. There wasn't enough really from us. Was
deserve it, Matt? Though we didn't deserve that.
No. Northampton deserved to win that 100%.
20 minutes still played at the end. Where did that come from? And that's really weird. And that as well. A few people said to me, it was like, it was like people are not playing for Duff, and I know we're going to talk about it later on. And like,
disagree.
Your players off the bench, just kind of like sending a message out like we should have been starting, but such a mess, and so frustrating because you've seen other scores again. Go ahead of us, and all of a sudden our agenda's changing now from never mind top two. Can we stay in the 600 as well, Matt? But it just awful. It's been a horrible week, hasn't it? It's been absolutely awful, and part of me thinks even we get 3-3, could we go on and win it? But yeah, just not good enough, mate. And so many bits and pieces stuff. Bits and pieces players are not fully fit. How fit are they? There's people like, there's people coming on, just showing what they don't show when they start. And it just seems a complete mess at the moment, mate. You look at the table without fifth now out when you're thinking kind of, it's the best yet to come out. It would always, in my head, Matt, that because I've been a kind of a top two trumpeter, mate, that, we're going to get better. But I've just kind of come to the conclusion now. No, that's died
off for me. Yeah, Huddersfield Town don't automatic promotion. We should have known. We should have known better, mate. We should have known better. We don't. It's just we don't do it. You're the only person old enough to have seen a Huddersfield Town automatic promotion on this podcast.
I had
in fairness, I'm old enough, but I'm not sure I could see properly at that time. But I mean, Killer. We keep saying it, but teams that get automatic promotion do things late, win games late. Wrexham won in the 94th minute, 95th minute again. They fluke these wins, don't they, with dodgy penalties, deflections, because they've got that momentum, they've got the confidence, they've got the drive to do it. It's not luck, really. I know sometimes it can be, but you force that luck, don't you, by being by enforcing yourself on or pushing yourself on the game, by dominating, by you don't just defend for 95 minutes, kick it upfield, and someone puts it in the net for you. You do it through pressure, don't you? And this is what these teams. Wickham are good at pressure. They got a late winner, didn't they, the other day? Wrexham got a late winner. Pressure. Huddersfield Town, there was no pressure towards the end. There was the scramble, the chance by Bojan, but apart from that, I just didn't feel the Alamo, the pressure enough to get back in. And I know they've played well last 20 minutes. They have. But like they say, like Michael Duff said, it's easy to play. I think it was Herbie Kane afterwards on Radio Leeds said, it's easy to play when you're 3-0 down because you've got nothing to lose. And they were good 20 minutes, but you've got to start like that. You really have got to start like that. And I thought Herbie Kane was quite good, to be fair, when he came on. I thought him and Marshall helped turn the game a little bit more in our favour. But teams that get promoted and teams that finish second, firstly, don't go 3-0 down at Northampton. But if they do go down, they fight back, they fight claw, and they pressure and everything. And we're just not doing that. I mean, the Burton game said enough as well to me that it took 88 minutes to get the equaliser, and we missed the chance, didn't he? And we're just not doing enough towards when we need to win games at the end for this team to go where we want it to go. I mean, it could turn, it could come, but at this moment in time, it's just not. Things just aren't quite working as we hoped, are they, really?
It's not. And like you said, Bojan could have won that game for us, but then you're expecting a striker that's probably not touched the ball in the penalty box for all the game because we just don't get it there to score the one opportunity or the set two. Like you're expecting too much for me. No other team has strikers that gets as little quality service as ours when you consider where we are in the league and what we're chasing. And that's on Michael Duff to sort out. It's on him to sort it out. But I've been trying to work out why it's not working, Matt. And
it was. We created the most chances for strikers in the entire league. You know,
but what I think's happened, Matt, this is what I think's happened here. For me, looking at Town now, it feels like we're very shackled. It feels like players are worried about being out of position defensively if possession changes. And I think, Matt, it's because when we first started this season, we were good, we were fine, we were scoring goals, but we had that issue with the wide centre-backs not being fast enough, didn't we? And the ball was going over the wing-backs' heads. So what's happened, Matt, is it's more of a back five than a back three most of the time now, or it's kind of a little bit deeper than it ever was. And whenever we're breaking forward, it's done in a structured way. And that's why I'm jealous when I see Northampton counter-attacking their way, because I honestly think Town now, the players, whether from instruction from Michael Duff or not, are worried about overcommitting, because if we lose the ball, they're worried about conceding. And that worry, they're the demons that we're facing. And why for the first 70 minutes of games, we're creating nothing. Couple that with an ill one, or like they don't really desire on. Like chances at the end of the game yesterday, Matt. A long ball was the first one to Bojan. There was a long ball in it initially, and it ends up with Bojan should have scored. And what was the second one? And what was the second chance for Healy? It was a Healy long throw into the box.
Yeah,
that's where our two chances. But for most games, we don't do that. We don't play that way. We get desperate at the end, and we're willing to gamble a little bit more, and we look better. But like you say, at 2-3-0 down, you can, or we feel like we can. Our problem, I honestly believe, is that at 0-0, Matt, in tight games, we're kind of too scared of losing our structure. And that's on the coaching team to sort out. It's a mental issue, I think, and it is, like you say, the hangover from last year. But we don't create that pressure, like you say, Matt. Or if we do, it's predictable pressure that teams defend quite easily. Kane's goal was fantastic. But do you know why it was fantastic? Because he ran laterally across. Yeah, and then Kane ran laterally across the face of the defence, losing his marker. And it was a great. That's where
they didn't run in straight lines. They didn't run in straight lines, and we run in straight lines. They were diagonaling in, and that was good. We'll go into the formation killer, because there's a lot of people blaming 3-5-2 as the formation. And I think part of the issue for me is the evolution of it under Duff, and I don't blame the formation. I mean, you could pick that back three, and you could have put Pearson in the middle, Spencer on the right, and Balker on the left to start with. And I don't think Tommy Eaves has that game. He does. And I mean, so I don't think you can blame the formation. I think that's too simplistic, but I think it's the personnel within the formation. We've just played 16 games and not lost. But you look at like I said, the evolution. I think Mikael Miller is a huge loss, because he gave that system a lot of balance. 3-5-2 needs two specialist wing backs, and those are your most important players in a 3-5-2. And we lost both, didn't we, for quite a while? And we've ended up with Ollie Turton, who's not well suited to wing back. Josh Ruffles, not well suited to wing back. Maybe was once upon a time. Brodie Spencer's not well suited to wing back. I mean, his touch just isn't quite good enough in the final third. He carries it well, but Ruskin is new, isn't he? We'll find out whether he's going to be the next Ben Chilwell or Jason Davidson in the next few months. Sorensen hasn't settled really at any point this season. He didn't start great, got injured, and he's not at full tilt, is he? You've got to sort of cut him some slack. He's not there yet. But we've seen at Lincoln he's got the tools to do it. So they're the main ones. So when Miller came out of the side injured, and that was a great result at Leyton Orient, Duff said in one of his in an interview there that we need somebody wide to be that threat, and he's moved to Josh Koroma. And Josh Koroma played wing back, but Josh Koroma can't track back. So what they've ended up doing is they've moved to a system that was 3-5-2 to then 4-4-2 on the ball. So what you've got is you've got two systems in one. I know Carlos Corbrand did this really successfully, didn't he? He'd go 3-4-3 and it'd go to 5-4-1, and either Sorba Thomas would wrap round to right back or Jonathan Hogg would drop between the centre backs, and it worked really well. So players can do it. But what we've got is we've got a transitional issue now whereby Brodie Spencer at Blackpool, for example, got caught out with those diagonal balls because he was transitioning from 3-5-2 to 4-4, or from 4-4-2 to 3-5-2. And there's that moment where we lose the ball, it turns over, and we're like, shit, we've got to get back in a completely different shape now. Reminds me of when Danny Schofield played Yuta Nakayama as that inverted left full back that time, which was crazy but brilliant at the same time. I think it was against Wigan, wasn't it? And it's the way it's evolved, and it's gone from 3-5-2 with Ben Wiles centrally causing all sorts of havoc to then Ben Wiles having to play right midfield and then try and run behind the two strikers. And it's just become so convoluted, and the structure, I think they're getting lost. And sometimes Danny Kieran messaged me and he says, football should be a simple game. And I think he's right on this occasion, because the systems are all of a sudden become too overcomplicated in the transition of it. And players are really struggling to sort of play two roles rather than one. And for me, Duff just has to go back. And we mentioned it on the drive-in, didn't we? It just has to go back to that one shape, one system, and stick to it, because the players are struggling with dual roles in this. And you either play 3-5-2 as it is, or you go to a back four. And I know that's music to your ears, Killer, because I prefer a back four. I prefer 4-3-3. That's my favourite formation. You prefer 4-4-2, Mike Bassett, get it forward kind of stuff. But he's got to, and Michael Duff likes a back three. He's had a lot of success with it at Cheltenham, Barnsley, and it went like this at Swansea. And he tried to switch to a 4-3-2-1, I think, at Swansea, and he couldn't get it to work. It could work enough. But the problem we've got is that in the summer, we've recruited specifically for this 3-5-2 system. So we have no wide players capable of playing in a 4-2-3-1, attacking wide players, or a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, apart from Josh Koroma. And this is where the sort of problem is now, is that we've recruited specifically for this 3-5-2. We're kind of stuck with it in many ways. So we really need to try and get the best out of it. And getting the best out of it is not by going 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 3-5-2, and it's just not working, because I don't think the players are that adaptable enough or flexible enough to do it. And I think it's confusing too many of them. It's taken away a lot from Ben Wiles. It's Brodie Spencer struggling with that aspect of it. And it just needs to, I think they just need to go, I hate cliches in football, but it is genuinely a back to basics kind of thing, Killer, isn't it? Where they've just got to say, look, 3-5-2, Lees or Pearson central winning the aerial ball, Balker wide with probably Spencer at the minute, and the wing backs. And he's got to get those two in midfield, but Kasumu's such a miss, isn't he? Kasumu's a huge miss, because he wins those second balls for you and the ball recoveries, and he sets you away, because everybody gets drawn to him and he just knocks it to Kane, and Kane sets you away. The other issue I've got is, again, the recruitment again this month. And we've mentioned this, haven't we? But I don't see a pivot up front. I don't see anyone who can provide that fulcrum or pivot. That's why they've gone back to Bojan, because he's the only one half capable of doing it. They've brought in Charles, a penalty box player who runs channels. They've brought in Taylor, penalty box player, runs channels. Healy, penalty box player, runs channels. Freddie, penalty box player, runs channels. They're all the same striker. And at some point, someone's got to look at this and go, why have we just signed 4 or 5 of the same player? And we've not got that contrast. And I might be talking absolute nonsense, and maybe it's fine. But and we'll score 50 goals from now till the end of the season. And I'll say, yep, it's all right. I'm talking bollocks. It's fine. We're a podcast. We talk shit. This is what we do. But I just feel like we've got too many type of player and not enough contrast in attacking areas to make it work, if you know what I mean. And the specialist wing backs are very important. And when they get injured or when they're off form, we never got the suitable backup in the summer for it. I mean, Sorensen, Turton is not. We probably said at the start of the season that Turton and Spencer was fine as backup at right wing back. As it's gone on, they're not really, are they? I mean, they're great in a back four at right back. That's great. They're fine. As a wing back, they can't do the attack in the wing side of it. They can do the back side. They can't do the wing. And on the left, it was the same. Jaheim Headley was never going to be able to break in and take that from Mikel Miller. I think we are guilty at sometimes at this football club of holding on to players for too long and not being brutal enough, not being cutthroat enough. And I think that's maybe hamstrung us this season, that we've maybe put too much faith in players that have failed us in the past and have continued to in many ways. And I don't like going in on them too much, but I just feel a bit. I just feel like the squad's not evolved enough to get us out of where we are, if you know what I mean. And I'll be honest, Killer, it's impossible to cull the entire squad and put a new one in place in 1, 2, 3 windows. So you can't sort of say, and again, when you say you've got to turn, there's not enough churn of the squad. who wants these players when they're under contract as well? No one, someone's not going to come in and say, do you know what, I'm going to give you 250 grand for Jaheim Headley in August, for example. It just doesn't happen. And it might not be till this summer when we finally get that side of it right, when there's so many out of contract. And it just might be a bit of a tough shit kind of scenario, if you know what I mean, whereby you just got to suck it and see, or wait, and because they can't get through it. Anyway, I've waffled way too long there. But for me, the system, the 3-5-2 is not to blame. The personnel is, and the way that the personnel fit into it and the changes is just overcomplicating things for me. So in short, Killer, TLDR, go back to 3-5-2 and just stick with it and get Ben Wiles back in that 10 position where he was causing havoc this season. Because at the minute he can't do that from right midfield cutting in. It's just not.
Now, we're not creating enough, so you've got to get the guys that can create in the positions to create. It's as simple as that. I've played wing back at the Scottish third division level, and I'm not. I was never a fast player. I'm not a fast guy.
Hang on. Where's this Scottish third division level?
East Stirlingshire.
You played for East Stirling? I didn't know this.
I found it. Went to uni. I went to uni in Stirling. Played all sorts of places up there. That's why I went up there to study philosophy, funnily enough. But that's another discussion entirely. But I played as a wing. I started as a striker and played around in academies and did that kind of thing. Dropped back because I wasn't fast enough. Ended up playing as a fullback and ended up playing as a wing back. And I was never electrically fast. And what kind of happened for me playing as a wing back was that I felt like I wasn't fast enough to get forward in attack. And then if I did kind of go too far forward, I always felt like I couldn't get back in time, and I just never settled. And I feel like Town, we have certain players at Town when Turton kind of plays in that role. I kind of feel that's what they're feeling because it's such a specialist position. Not many people play that kind of role. It's so rare to play it because not many teams play a pure 3-5-2 anymore. It's not that common. And it's such a big culture change for a team to shift from a 4-3-3 that we've kind of been with for the last 10 years or whatever, to that it takes a while for it to shift and to change. And to, like you say, Matt, to do that in 3 transfer windows is unrealistic. It'll take a few more, I think. And if we are setting at that, I don't think we should be, because I don't think it works anyway. And that's probably why my hatred was born, Matt. So it gives you a little bit more colour analysis there for you.
Born in Scotland, raised, but made from girders.
That's it. So yeah, well, maybe that's where it's from. But that aside, if we are sold on it, we're going to have to build with it, and it'll take a bit of time, right? That's absolutely fine. I think when you get messages saying only top 2 is good enough for us, that's what frustrates fans and kind of gets them offside a little bit. So maybe the club need to sort that out a little bit, because to me, it's a very big shift in the club's culture to go to a 3-5-2, bigger than what most people are saying, because players that aren't based on that system have to relearn it. And it's going to take time to either get them there or players that can. But I'm with you, Matt. The thing that's really stifling us at the moment is that constant shift in possession. Honestly, the shift in formations, everyone struggles with it. We disagree. Obviously, you're quite good mates with Steve Chicken, and everyone kind of disagrees with how we're starting in the first half and then the second half, and then Duff saying something else, and nobody can really see it. Whereas normally most of us can kind of sit there and see what a team's trying to play at least. We can't do that with Town very often, because I think the overcorrection to solve the problems we were facing at the beginning of the year has meant now we don't really create enough, because people are just so worried about not doing it right off ball. You always focus on not conceding first. Every professional football team is based upon not conceding. But the problem is when you think you're conceding too many and then you try and shift that way, you lose a creativity. Like we've lost with Wiles isn't the guy that he was a few games ago. Koroma was flying at one point, suddenly ended up not being able to score for fun. We've got nobody else scoring. Dion Charles looks like he's never played up front before, yet he's still Bolton's top scorer from this season. Friedel Adapo, we can laugh about him, but he was 17 goals 3 years ago for Ipswich in this division. I don't think he could score 17 in training in a year, looking at what we see on a Saturday at the moment. There is issues, and it is really being back to basics. I think the errors we were facing at the beginning of the year weren't as serious as what we've kind of developed into right now. This total lack of fluid football, because it's just constant change. It's just taking too much out of us, and that's on Michael Duff for me, Matt. It's not, that isn't the players. That's a managerial issue, not players not wanting to do it. I don't think they're capable, and if they're not capable, then either you take the bad results on the chin, expecting to learn longer term, or you change it. And I think that's kind of the point of where Town are at the moment at this part of the season.
Yeah, I do like Michael Duff. You know, I've always said I like Michael Duff, but I agree with you. I think there are tactical issues here I think we've kind of overcorrected, if you like, and we're kind of finding it hard to roll back, if you like. I think there are player issues in there. I think there are performances which have been really disappointing, whereby individual mistakes have let them down. But at the same time, I think going forward, I think that is a managerial technical issue. I think the defending side of it, I think mostly is a personnel issue. Cozzy, you all right, mate? How's the washing machine?
Oh, mate, washing machine's all right. It's my tumble dryer that's an issue. But
that's the one.
The football team's an issue. Not a lot's going right, mate. But
can't dry.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, Matt.
Quiet there during that period.
I mentioned Birmingham, but their goal were one of easily the top 5 best goals I have seen.
You reckon? I saw you put that, and I was like, no.
I just thought it was sensational for a lot of reasons. Someone mentioned the West Brom goal last year, which I know that absolutely.
Yeah, that were belt to that.
But the one thing I loved about it was just like that little. It looked like he was going to volley it straight away, and then he didn't. And then so he took a few out. I think Sonos from one of them, and then he just did what he did. He was absolutely brilliant. I think it just went straight in at the keeper, which made it look like maybe it wasn't good. But I just thought it would something.
Eat it well.
You know what? This division just lacks in quality, doesn't it? Though anyone with a bit of class or something just a little bit different, it just catches an eye because this is kind of. I know the Championship got it slagged off last year, but it's quality. But honestly, mate, we see more in that division. But I suppose you'd expect it to go down. But it would just as much as I hated to see 2,000 Brummie fans going nuts and. It was just an amazing goal, mate. And it was just, I remember I just turned to Lauren and Danny West and we looked at each other like, oh my God, did that just really happen? It was absolutely sensational. And I don't know.
Where's that come from? Anyway, where's this Birmingham goal come from? We sat here talking about Northampton.
Yeah, finished it 45 minutes to Northampton.
It's just come out of nowhere.
It's almost as knackered. I'm depressed enough as it is, mate. Let's talk about something nice, exciting, man. Another defeat.
Let's talk about. All right, I'll tell you what, Cozzy, I'll stay with you. We'll talk about Michael Duff afterwards. But tell us, you went to watch the B team, didn't you, in the Premier League Cup?
Yeah.
Give us a little match report, mate. Because it wasn't on YouTube, so they used to put these on YouTube, didn't they? And it was great when they used to put them on.
Yeah.
But I understand that if they put it on YouTube, they probably won't get the people down at the ground, etc. So tell us about the game, mate. Freddie scoring goals.
Yeah, he did, Matt. Just his first goal was just kind of right on the line, to be honest with you. Then ended that got with a cross kind of got turned back on, and he just stuck his head on it, and that's well a bit of a kind of dirty goal, shall we say. And the second one looked like he missed a chance, mate. It was kind of through, and then a couple of he kind of stopped, and then everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's he going to do?" And he scored. I think one thing that's disappointing me, and I get he's a ridicule figure and stuff, but there were people that were wanting him to miss some of them chances at the ground, and it's just like, no, mate. As much as he's been crap, as much as he's been a laugh and forget, he's got another time shirt on, another time badge on, man, and you should still want him to do well. But I'm afraid he's just reached the point with fans. It's like kind of ridicule. But I tell you what, when I watched some of his other strikers in inverted commas kind of recently on that as well, maybe it's not the door shut totally, but no, mate. Neil Eccleston were good. He looks, quick. But it's hard to gauge it. Sheffield United had such a young team out on that as well. I think because they'd already qualified, they were it was just such a youthful team as well. But Connor Falls had a decent game. But he just stands out, doesn't he? Just I didn't even know that he were going to be playing. But obviously at the Dapple, it must have been. I don't know where his head must be at, mate. But obviously he's done absolutely nothing. But he's
still working. Credit to him, Cozzy, because we saw John Russell. When he wanted out of Huddersfield, and he played in that B team game, didn't he? Which was posted online, and he wasn't tracking back. He wasn't doing anything. He gave the ball away, and you could see he was playing like a dick on purpose.
Yeah.
But Freddie's working his nuts off, isn't he? And he's trying his best. And you need people like that, don't you, in the squad? And full credit to him for working. I
just think we're not good enough, Matt, as a club and a team to kind of write people off who, It just makes me mad when some fans is like, I get it's shooting whatever, but it's just like I honestly believe when he was through on Friday, there's a lot of people wanted him to miss. And I thought that were really sad for me, mate, because it's like he's another Sultan player when all's said and done. And well, it'd be interesting. Obviously, is it the windows shut in tomorrow, Matt? Am I right? Tomorrow night?
Tomorrow, yeah. I think Killer's trying to get me to do a January window
Kill us
review.
praying for Corona to stay, but that would have been a strange one, wasn't it? That as well.
Quad
But,
issue, apparently.
yeah.
Quad issue, according to Mr. Duff.
Yeah, it must have happened late though, wouldn't it? But why would you travel to Northampton and sit in a cold stand there with your tracksuit
It was in his tracksuit. So if he was off anywhere else, I don't think he'd be there, would he?
No, a bit of a strange one. But no, yeah, beat team 1-3-2 were a good game, to be fair. Quite entertaining, and yeah, I think they've got to win one more to qualify or something like that as well. But yeah, good. And there were VIP. I had someone kicking off with Stuart because for £10, for £5, you just sat at bottom tier of Riverside and froze to death like me. And then for £10, you could sit in a padded seats, where directors going on.
Nice those padded seats, Nice,
yeah, I think there were a bit of hospitality chucked in, but there were two guys that must have gone to the ticket office and they've got the wrong ticket, and they ended up. We wanted to be VIP, and they were kicking off his. I thought, guys, come on, it's just a BT game. Just chill your beans, man. But
they're good. Those padded seats, mate. They're worth fighting for. Those padded seats, they're pretty good. Pretty good. Even if it's upstairs or downstairs, they're all good.
Yeah.
All
so
good.
We're nice to
you
see
get a blanket if you go upstairs. They used to give it when you used to go upstairs. They used to give you a little blanket to put across your legs as well. They're pretty good.
We're coming on to Birmingham, Matt. I've already talked about a bit.
No, Jay and Joel did the Birmingham post-match stuff, so we've no need. Town women lost 1-0 to Durham today, which is a shame.
They needed to win that, mate.
They needed to win to keep the pressure up at the top. Unfortunately, they've not managed to do so today, which is a shame because we're obviously big advocates for them. And what I'll do as well is I'll speak to Beth, who we sponsor, and try and get a good update from her that we can roll in the next week or two as well, and just see how they're getting along from their perspective. But yeah, it's a shame they lost 1-0 to Durham, didn't they, today?
Someone messaged on my Twitter, Matt, that if we don't win his next game, Duff's got a big sacked, and I just thought I'm not replying to that, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But it is.
There was a lot of calls for Michael Duff to. I mean,
what is going on?
60. It shades of Lee Clark in a way, with 43 games unbeaten, and then we lost to Sheffield United, and everyone wanted him out. But you could see it unraveling a little bit for him. But Michael Duff, 16 games unbeaten. It's season 1, 16 unbeaten, and then we've had a bad week. And I don't know. It just feels like a lot of people just like to sound off or get the frustration out, immediately after the game. I think if people are saying it immediately after the game, that's one thing. If they're still saying it Thursday, Friday, then you maybe take it a little bit more serious because it's one of those. I remember when we interviewed Bobby Madley years ago, Cozzy, and he always used to say, if people are calling, it was quality. If people are always saying, oh, the referees are so and so and so and so on Saturday, that's fine. But if they're still going on about what a knobby is by Wednesday, Thursday, then that's slightly psychopathic behavior. That's what I said, and it was quite funny. But I think a lot of people get frustrated. And I don't think it always comes out the most productively, shall I say. Sacking Michael Duff a bit lunacy for me. I know people don't like the style that much. They don't like. We're a little bit disjointed. We're very disjointed at the minute. We've lost a couple of big games. There's a big job here that had to be done. He's done most of it. I'm not happy with. Obviously, I'm not happy with losing the last 3 games, but I'm nowhere near Michael Duff out. I'll be honest. But I think you've got to give a still relatively new manager enough rope. Well, it sounds a bit morbid, doesn't it? Enough rope to hang himself with. But you've got to give him the opportunity to turn things around and work on things. If we go another 6 weeks and it's still going on like this, okay, we'll have a conversation. But if what happens if we win next week and then we lose again the week after? Do we start that conversation again? I mean, it's just. I think he's got to be given the opportunity to turn things, or tweak what he's started, or finish what he started. Really, I just don't see any. To be honest, I don't really see any method in sort of discussing it that much. But maybe it's because it was so prevalent online. But I just think it'd be insane to get rid of Michael Duff at this point. I mean, I may change my stance in a couple of weeks if things continue to go downhill. But at this moment in time, I just think it'd just be an incredibly silly move to do so. I mean, who would you go for, even if you did? It's just
no, especially Matt. When
I don't think anyone turns this around, Cozzy.
You've got this summer coming, mate. When you've got your out of contract players, got a lot of them, so he can put his probably total stamp on there and that as well. And I know I mentioned it earlier on in the season, and obviously I'm bad me. I changed my mind quite quickly, but he's just like apart from me thinking. This season, hopefully we need to get straight back up. And trouble is, you look at the weakness of the division, think you'll never have a better chance. But then part of me thinks, would you just want to go up with what we've got? And
I mean,
we were on about, do you finish the job of the restructuring the championship or whatever? But I just feel that he must look at some of them players, Matt, that he's inherited. And like you mentioned about his mentality state and stuff like that as well. He's tried his best. He really has with people. But someone like Matty Pearson, who obviously was shushing the crowd and stuff, his mental state, he's just like, there's so many players.
He's not having a good period, is Matty. We like him, but he's not having a good month or so.
But there's players like he's just having to kind of do his best with as well, and they're not his players. But it just seems to me, again, another project. I mean, could this be the first season for a while that since Carlos had a couple of seasons, didn't he? But that we haven't changed his manager. I just hope we do, because we have been known as a basket place club away from Kirklees. Huddersfield used to be known as a club with calm decisions, but now that's just been mad. But you do wonder though, Matt, because you just feel a bit weird that, I don't know, again, you might read it and stuff wrong, but Duff, since Kevin Nagle and Carmichael being over, it's almost like, I don't know, just Duff seems to be a bit.
Jonas, do you reckon there are a couple of Jonas, those two, coming over? And...
I don't know. And
the thing is, though,
stay away, Dave. Stay away.
I agree with you, but we'd be remiss for us to sit here and say some of this isn't on Michael Duff. We can't pretend that he hasn't made some decisions that we find questionable in regards to tactics recently. I feel, and I don't know, you guys are probably a good sounding board for this. It feels like the club's panicking a little bit. And now the expectations have been set from above that top two is what we're after. And I think your anger or your belief in if Duff's up to the job comes down to your perspective on what the squad is like and how good it is and how it should be performing and where the club is as of today. And I think us three are pretty similar on this in that we believe it's the parts that were rotten. We've kind of got rid of bits of it. We're building, but it's not quite there yet. So when things don't go right, it's like, oh yeah, well, we're still going to take a bit of time. But not everybody has that perspective. They've got a different kind of view on it. They think we should be beating the teams. We spoke about this before, Cozzy. We should be beating Northampton. I don't care whatever's going on. We should be beating Northampton. And when it doesn't happen, they're like, well, it's Duff's fault. It's Duff's fault. We're looking at it a little bit differently. And a lot of other people look at it differently. But I understand why they're kind of speaking like that. I might not agree, but I understand why. Kevin's been over and we've not seen him really. I think he did one interview with BBC Radio Leeds. That's not happened before. Normally he comes over, there's a diary, there's this, that and the other. And it's not happened this time.
No, I think to
me,
be fair,
Matt, sorry, Matt.
People say he talks too much, so I think he's reeled it in, that's all.
I accept that. But even like Duff speaking in his post-match conferences just seem a little bit different to me. It seems a little bit different. And I feel like everyone's just a little bit lost at the moment in that we need a good result. And I'm sure we can come back very, very quickly. But there's something that feels a little bit different at the moment. Remember, Matt, I put a tweet out before we recorded this. Oh, sorry, just quickly. We are currently 21st on the form table over the last 6 games. We are in relegation form over 6 games, and that can't be argued.
Do you think that the striker signings have added the pressure?
Yeah, Matt, I was going to mention that, mate.
They seem to have added a pressure that we didn't have.
We'd won at Wickham, and I thought that's a statement moment. Players are coming back from injury. There's 2 strikers. We expected 1. We get 2 in. I'm as bad as anyone because people was questioning me. Said who was saying that we're in the bag? I honestly thought I feel a bit arrogant, but I thought that almost like the playoff spot was in the bag. You know, before the last 3 games. And to me, it was just a matter, could we get top 2? But obviously now you're reevaluating and thinking this Reading and Barnsley games are huge because we could slip out of the 6th. But I just look at, I was analysing myself thinking, am I to blame? Have I got carried away? But I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. No, we just won at Wickham, which was a bloody amazing win. But are we, a lot of them results were kind of edge stuff and this, that, and the other. We still on. But I don't know. Honestly, mate, I just think we should go to a psychiatrist. I'm all mixed up, man. But I analyse it now thinking, wow, I was sat on Neil's sofa 8 days ago trying to convince him that I thought second were happening. And now I'm just thinking, what were I even saying? But then I'm thinking, well, no, hang on a minute. Everything was great. Charles had come. Taylor had come. You know, and then all of a sudden from that Blackpool game, we're 2 down. It's just never recovered from that. And all of a sudden where it feels like we're going to everyone else like Orient and Barnsley and Reading and that, they're right. They could take us as, I don't know, it just...
We are doing some peculiar things.
Matt, yeah,
that interview with Joe Taylor was peculiar. That we don't do stuff like that normally, and that was, like I said, that was peculiar. That was out of character from town. The pressure, I think maybe people are feeling pressure all of a sudden after, you know, Kevin Nagle's come over, and I think Kevin Nagle puts pressure on departments and people and stuff as an owner does, as an owner should, and I just think maybe maybe a couple of people are struggling. Because Duff mentions this in the post-match, doesn't he, on Radio Leeds? He says, Huddersfield Town's a big club. Some people have to deal with the expectation. And that kind of stuck with me. And I was thinking, not that big, Michael. We're not Man United, are they, in League One? I mean, we're big in League One terms, but we're not massive like other teams have been at this level. And Huddersfield Town fans are pretty placid for the most part, aren't they? It's not like
what
you're
do you
going
mean
into
his
a
thing at though,
cauldron.
Matt? Do you reckon when he said, "Oh, I think some people just think that it would just, who's going to turn up and like we're going to win and that as well."
Yeah.
And it's like, we've signed these 2 strikers and we're going to go on. Was that? I can't imagine it's a shot at the owner, or would it just frustration, just a
I
general?
think it were at the players, mate. I thought it was at the
reckon?
players. Yeah, I thought it was at the players, towards the players. I don't think he'd have a pop at Kevin because I think he's always quite matter of fact about him, isn't he? He's right to question things, which he is. But I think it were at the players. To me, it felt like a couple of players have lost Michael Duff over the last week or two, and I can't say which ones they are. You'll probably notice by the team selections, I guess, in the next few weeks. If we're at full tilt, there's probably a few players that may disappear who maybe he's thinking, I can't trust this player to play for me at this moment in time. Maybe he'll come back later on, but I think there are players out of form and he's disappointed with. And I think he's got to take like Killer says, I think he's got to take responsibility for the form of a few. Like Ben Wiles, for example, who was playing well. He's been moved positionally and now he's out of form. And I think Michael Duff has to kind of take some responsibility on that. But there are other players who should be playing better than they are. And I can't put that down to the manager. And I don't really want to name. I think we've gone in on the players enough on this podcast to name them. But there's a few who should be playing a lot better than they are, and they're just not at the minute. And I think we all know who they are. And that's where I'm at. For me, Duff stays till the end of the season, unless we absolutely bottom out and we end up 12th or something. Unless we do like Cosy remembers 91-92, where Owen Hand had to go at that point after we were looking like in a similar sort of position, and then we fell out of the playoffs, didn't we? And Ian Ross came in and guided us back. So unless something like that happens, and I can't see, because I think Killer, going back to finances and stuff, this is Huddersfield's best chance financially to get out of League One. And we've seen Stephen Chicken's articles, the longer you stay in League One, the harder it gets. Huddersfield Town need to get promoted this year or next. Otherwise, it's going to become more difficult for Kevin to part with money in the right sort of way, isn't it? And give us that advantage, because at the 75% of turnover on player wages or something, next year it's 60%, and it'll stay. And so this year is the best chance we've got. I'm like I say, I'm just not sure they've cleared out enough players that are mentally not quite on the train, if you like. Trying to be careful with what I say, but that's it for me. I think that's it, lads, in it this week. I don't think any of us are saying Duff out, but
the next 2 games are huge, man. It's all of a sudden we've gone from can we close in second to Reading and Barnsley. There's such character tests for them, though, aren't there? In so many ways, it's
Reading are not very good away from home. So if we fail to beat Reading,
I didn't see that happening, mate.
I did. Reading bit, but no, I didn't either. Reading don't have any strikers either, apart from Harvey Nibbs at the minute. They've just sold Sam Smith to Wrexham. Wrexham have just done some good business, haven't they? I've gone from sort of saying Wrexham are crap to all of a sudden going, oh, Wrexham might not be too bad after all, unfortunately. So there to be beaten next week. We'll cover it on the drive-in, but Reading are there to be beaten. But Huddersfield are there to fuck up again, basically. So it could go both ways, could this? So yeah, Mads, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. I mean, some of this week could have been absolute twaddle waffle. But don't come at us too hard, because it was just the disappointment of losing 3 games in 8 days, isn't it? So that's all we got time for. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your support as always for the podcast, and we'll be back with the drive-in midweek.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.